What's up, everyone? Ella Phillips here, joining me today, multiple time guest on the show. And we're not in the studio today because it's going under renovations, but we still had to make it happen. So we're in the Ross Rec Center. Ella, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Sam?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining the show one last time. I know it's going to be a great conversation. Always really fun to have you on. So first thing we're going to get to, W&J lacrosse, women's lacrosse, 3 PAC championships in a row. Really exciting stuff, and you guys are looking to add to it this year. How do you feel like the squad's shaping up this year?
I can't speak on it too much just because I've had field hockey all
Right,
fall.
of course.
But I've heard the freshmen great things about the freshmen, and obviously losing our seniors sucked. Like Sarah at Pitt, playing at Pitt now, doing awesome. Mandy and Lena on the attack. Mandy being one of the best defenders or attackers in the pack, and then Sam and Gabby obviously off our defensive line. Me and Paige are gonna have our work cut out for us a little bit. Neither of us have been there all fall. Paige was studying abroad in Ireland, but I think it'll be good. I'm excited to get back to playing and meeting everybody really for the first time.
Now, what do you feel like? Is there a different atmosphere when you're playing for a team in field hockey who hasn't won a PAC championship or Empire 8, and then now you guys in the ECAC, you guys are trying to. Or I'm sorry, the NCAC.
Yeah.
My bad.
No,
so. With a different kind of feel there in terms of, you're trying to get back to the championship level and then trying to maintain it. Do you feel like there's any differences there in the way, of, is it harder to be on top? Is it easier to have that underdog mentality? If you get what I'm trying to get out here.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty similar on both sides. Like, obviously, on lacrosse, we're working hard to maintain where we are, but on field hockey, we're working just as hard to get there. You want it as bad on both sides. You want it as bad in field hockey because you haven't had it. And then lacrosse, like, you've tasted PAC championship, you've been to the NCAA tournament, you want to go there again. That you're going to do everything to get back. And I know KB, I've talked to her a little bit, our goalie. She's talked about how, like, she's not leaving without that fourth ring on her hand. So I think all of us just want it as bad as, we do in field hockey.
And what do you feel like about your culture? I know you guys, obviously with Coach Maggie, you're really building that in field hockey. You guys are getting closer and closer every year to getting in the playoffs, making a run at that NCAC ring. But in terms of lacrosse, you guys have such sustained success. Obviously, last year at the awards ceremony, you guys were crowned the team of the year at W&J Women's Lacrosse. So what do you feel like about the team culture over your time here? I met you here when you were a freshman, but now, into your junior year, you're upperclassmen, you kind of understand things as a whole, being such a big part of the sports culture here at W&J. What do you feel like, especially women's lacrosse, has made you guys so successful from a cultural perspective?
I think it's a lot about the players that we have on the team. They all have that winning mentality, and I think, honestly, KB is a big part of that. She's one of those people who's going to work hard, and she doesn't really care if you think she's being too rude when she's trying to give you advice. She knows that she wants the best for the team, and she's going to go out every single day and get that. And it's awesome working in front of her. I've been blessed throughout my lacrosse career to work with many amazing goalies. My friend Taylor plays at Temple now as their starting goalie, and I'm so blessed to have KB behind me in the goal. She's an awesome player, and I think she's something that fires up the team. Soph, being a 3-year captain, fires up the team as well. She's there to work, and she's there to get the job done.
Soph strikes me as a really intense competitor as well.
Yeah,
I mean, both of them
she
do.
is.
So that's awesome. And one thing I was thinking about when I was writing up the questions for our kind of final chat today was, I saw you at the wrestling match, I've seen you at the basketball game. So not just do you play 2 sports here at W&J, you're a really big fan of sports. And you said you didn't know much about wrestling, but you were there watching, seeing what's going on. So for you, Ella, why do you feel like you're drawn to sports so much? Why do you like being a part of sports? It seems like to me, you follow pro sports as well. We've had conversations here on, about your Cleveland sports fandom. So for you, why do you feel like you're drawn to sports? Why do you love sports?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure. The love of Cleveland comes from my mom.
Okay.
She's a huge Cleveland.
Because that's your pro
fan.
teams, right?
Yeah. The Caps are from DC. My neighbors are huge Caps fans. So, when we go over there, they'd have the game on, So we just became Caps fans because Cleveland doesn't have a
Right.
hockey team.
Right.
But my mom like lives and breathes Cleveland sports, so she's definitely what got me into football and all that kind of stuff. My grandma, huge sports fan. Any game that's on, doesn't matter who's playing. Any baseball game that's on, she'll have it on the TV. Any like college football game, any NFL football, she has it on the TV all the time. She'll watch reruns of games. She loves college football. She loves Ohio State. Every single game, she's live texting me while it's going on.
That's been tough past 3 years.
I know.
So, okay, for you, how bad was it seeing Michigan win the national title?
I honestly couldn't finish. So my dad actually graduated with his PhD from UW. So I did have a little bit riding on the game.
Okay.
My dad went to University of Washington. I'm from Seattle, so
really,
yeah.
I can't believe we've never talked about that. That's
No,
sick.
yeah,
So have you been back like where you've been like older and
no, once we moved to Maryland, I haven't been back.
Okay,
but my
that's
dad
really cool.
was getting his PhD when I was born in Seattle. So I was born like in University of Washington Hospital.
That campus is sick, right on the Puget Sound. I think you'd like hiking at Mount Rainier too. I know you're a big outdoor person.
Yes, I want to go so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I had it riding on the game.
Okay.
I had my Husky shirt on.
Oh, I did not know that. All right.
My dad had from college, so I couldn't even watch the end of the game. Once it started getting bad, I was like, I can't even watch Michigan win. I just can't even.
We'll move on. But including those like love of those teams, but like even I think the maybe question I have just that it's really kind of been sitting with me all day is like what makes you interested to like learn about different sports? It seems like you're very interested to like even just talk about sports on this podcast. Like I remember I asked you and like you were ready to rock, like coming on the first time by yourself as a freshman. Like what makes you love sports, just in general?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure, but I was, for my J-term class, I was writing a personal statement about just like about myself, maybe turn it into law school or something. And I was trying to come up with something. It wasn't ended up being not the right statement. Like I only got the first paragraph.
Okay.
But I was talking about how my entire life I've poured like most of my passion into the games I play, the sports I play. Even sports I don't play, football here, basketball here, like just college sports and everything. So I was trying to talk about that, and it was kind of hard because obviously I'm going to turn it in next year when I'm going to be in my senior year of sports, winding everything down. And I think it's just I'm so passionate about the game. I have nowhere else for that passion to go.
Right. And I think personal statements are really tough because it's like, and I'm trying to apply for film school right now. It's like, you have your learn, take your resume. It's like all these things. It's like, all right, summarize who you are in one page. And that's really like a reductionist view of a person if you summarize their life in one page. But like
one single space.
At the same time, you have to, it's what the nature of how things are. But I think I wanted to include something about sports in my, personal statement because I feel like sports is, as we've discussed on the show many times, like a metaphor for life. You know what I mean? It's like, and I feel like people who are really dedicated to sport, like if you played sport for it, like it takes passion. It shows you're a passionate person in general. Like, because things are gonna get tough in college sports over 4 years. Like, it's gonna be good times, bad times. Like, even as teams like your team, our team that have had success here. We've had some losses in the regional for us, and I know you guys have been really close to cracking like the Elite Eight. You know what I mean? And it's been really, really good having those experiences, but I know like there's been some failures along the way too, and that's what shows the passion of people. I think is if you stick with it, you continue through the good times and bad times. Like obviously, like we're talking about this morning, like the Eagles lost last night, they're falling apart, kind of over half the season. But those guys will come back and next year, and then that's the good thing with sports is always another step in the store. And I think it shows perseverance. Like we're talking about someone like Baker Mayfield. Obviously where he's at in his story right now is he kind of had that period where he was struggling, and now he's recovered. You know what I mean? Or C.J. Stroud, someone who lost against Georgia, and it was a very heartbreaking defeat. Now he's he's probably the best rookie quarterback we've seen in a long time.
He's doing amazing.
Yeah, and he's going to be playing the divisional playoff game. So I think that's the cool thing about sports, and that's why like as I move later into this chapter, like sports provides those valuable lessons that people can take in things like personal statements and whatever. But just in general, like obviously you go into law school, like I know like you're going to be very competitive when you're looking at a court case. I know Haley's been on the show before. She wants to do some similar stuff. Like I can imagine you guys argue. You guys are both so competitive. Like, and I'm sure you guys have debated stuff before. But what I wanted to ask you is, we've talked a lot about this chapter of your life with you, kind of the time you got here to, this point now. We're getting into another sports season here as a junior. Ella, what do you want to gain when it's all said and done out of this chapter of your life?
I just want W&J to be a place where I've proved myself, as well as some place where I can, I feel prepared for the world.
So what do you mean by prove yourself? To who?
I don't know, myself probably.
Okay.
I'm very hard on myself. I'm very much a perfectionist. Everything needs to be perfect, and my mom is also not that she tries to be super hard on me, but she very much is so involved in my life that she wants the best for me as well. So just being here, and I want to take every opportunity I can here. My 2 Magellans, maybe 3 Magellans, like all the things I can get out of the school, I want to get out of it so that I'm prepared and prove myself here enough that I feel like I can prove myself in the real world, like in law school. Because I know it's hard out there, and if I don't feel prepared here, like, what did I do all this stuff for?
Right. Now, I wanted to definitely get into that stuff with the international trips, but kind of sticking with that theme just for a second before we get into the specifics. You've taken trips to New Zealand, Africa, and Hawaii as well. I was in a different country, like experiencing different cultures. Like, if there's a lesson, maybe you could kind of summarize in 1 or 2 words. I know it's difficult to summarize all those trips. Like, what do you feel like you've gained as a person being able to travel? And the thing is, like, we're talking about frustrated. You go over to some of these places by yourself, like some school groups, trips. And I know you went to the Garden of the Gods. Was that with your family?
Yeah, that was with my cousin.
That's really cool. Like,
yeah.
But like when you see these types of different environmental biomes, when you meet these different people, when you experience these different cultures, like, how do you feel like that's added to your life?
Honestly, I think cross-culturalism is really important. Like, just learning about different things, broadening your horizons. And I was finishing up actually my personal statement today for class, and I was talking about like how history always has 2 sides to the story, but history is always told by the winners, and losers, really. And so by going to these places like Hawaii, New Zealand, Africa, 3 places that have been colonialized, you can see, like, not that they're necessarily losers because there wasn't a war or anything, but colonialism has shown the one side of the story, and I'd like to see the different side. See what culture has been lost by colonialism. See what these people live and die for in their, like, Hawaiians love the land, like they love Mother Hawaii, like, so seeing that was just so different than how we live in the rest of America. It's like broadens your horizons and perspectives, and like leaves you with a more open mind to think about things more like in depth.
And you mentioned, have you ever heard of a book called Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe?
I've heard of it.
With
Okonkwo.
Okonkwo, the main character is Okonkwo, and it's kind of this like modern look at colonialism. Like, it was written, in the modern age, but it's really about. And another good book I read recently, and we're definitely gonna get to talk about some books. Don't worry about it. It's one of my favorite things to discuss with you. Is I actually read the book for Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh, okay.
The movie's been.
Yes.
So I read
the movie.
it was like 3 hours, and I didn't have a lot of time when I was at home to watch the movie. I was doing a lot of stuff with my family, so I read the book. And it's like really interesting. It's like, these people, the Osage, were murdered because they were actually the richest people in America, the richest people in the world, because they had this oil. And then, we don't learn about that in school. It's like these people were just outright murdered by their neighbors, their, husbands and wives. And it's like, that was the start of the FBI. And it's a really good story. I haven't been able to critique the movie, or I don't have thoughts on it, but the book is a very interesting story. It's like, we don't learn about that in history class, you know what I mean? And it's, it's someone's story. It's an American story of, our community and, the Osage community trying to stick together through that, and the directors of the FBI who were former, like, Texas Rangers trying to solve and help those. And it's a really interesting story, but it's like, there's so many things we don't learn about. So I think that's awesome. Look at it. And, we're talking about kind of the project you've had, and exploring that from different angles is, like, super cool. I didn't even think about, you said you've done something with studying English colonialism?
Yeah, English colonialism in New Zealand, and then American colonialism.
So what's the goal? French and Spanish?
French Probably next.
This would be a cool book to write. Now that I'm thinking about it, like if you were into that at one point, like
I don't.
Because then you could go to like.
Writer, but
Hey, you don't know. You give yourself some credit because you've been a lot of places. You could go to the Congo, maybe do like.
Yeah. So originally, when I was
Flemish,
looking at it,
yeah.
I wanted to go to like South Africa or something. My dad was like, "That's a little too much, I think," and I was like, "Okay, well."
So, do you like the beach? Because all these places you named are at the beach. Are you a beach girl?
Sometimes.
Okay.
The sand's too sandy for me, but
Really?
I like the ocean.
Okay, so now I've got a question. I've saw some surfing. Did you surf at all in New Zealand? Have you got better?
It was freezing in New Zealand.
So I think I was there at near the same time as you.
Yeah.
So we wore wetsuits. You have to wear a
Yeah.
wetsuit to get it. Well, there was some also, I mean, some of those people, they live to surf, so they don't even, wear the wetsuits. But it was pretty cool. So the kids would get out of school. There's this like school right near the beach, Manly Beach. And they would like rip off their polos, like strip down right there. They had the board carrier in their bicycle. They'd throw on the suit just to surf for like 30 minutes. And I just thought that was so cool. I don't know if you noticed that in New Zealand. Like, people are always near the water.
Yeah.
Always doing it. People like we'd get up at like one night. I wanted to get for my movie. I wanted to get like a panorama shot of the sunset. So I was up early. People are swimming across the bay. People are surfing. Like where I surf in North Carolina, it's like 2 or 3 people in the lineup. Really, people surf. Hundreds of people out there surfing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just seemed like everyone was so active, and people love sports. You said you watched rugby. Did you get into rugby at all?
I watched like one rugby game. I think it was like the end of the season.
Yeah. Was it the NRL league?
I had no idea.
Okay.
I was just there.
So there's
I just happened to be there at the same time.
So there's the NRL league is Australia and New Zealand. They have one team in New Zealand. It's a different. It's like you have 6 downs.
South Africa.
Okay, so that was the World Cup. So I got really into rugby when I went to Australia. I like the game because it's kind of like football, but there's no pauses. Like there's no puddles or anything. The NRL, it's really
America
cool.
Probably hates rugby.
Yeah, I feel like
commercials to put in there.
Exactly.
Same thing with soccer.
Well, it's funny too because exactly that NRL. Yeah, we would go to a couple matches. There's a lot of people there and stuff, but they get out there. There's like they just start playing. There's no like introductions, no hype. It's like no commercial breaks, like no TV timeouts. But did you get into cricket at all?
There wasn't any cricket happening.
Really? I think that might be an Australian thing, a South African. I don't know if they play that in New Zealand as much as because New Zealand they had All Blacks.
The World Cup.
The All Blacks.
So that was what
are the most
yeah.
winningest franchise in sports history in any pro sport.
Yeah.
They're crazy rugby.
I know a professional field hockey player from New Zealand.
Oh wow.
No, he was. I did World Camp for field hockey in high school, and he was my coach. He was from New Zealand. He played for the national team. So that was always cool. Like I would love to play field hockey over there. Now my bag didn't hold my sticks, so I couldn't bring it over there. And it was also freezing. But it would be awesome to play hockey over in New Zealand.
That's so cool. Yeah, I feel like the sports cultures, like people are like, I think we think of America sometimes as like the only country that gets crazy about their sports. Like people are into it. And the Rugby World Cup was huge. And I believe South Africa won this year actually, which is a big surprise.
Yeah.
Also, but so there's different kinds of rugby. So that's rugby union. Rugby league is played in Australia and some parts of New Zealand. It's like rugby's one of I feel like there's just so many sports you don't take hold of. You know what I mean?
No.
Cricket's such a big thing in those countries. Rugby is, but we don't know anything about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, cricket. Basically baseball for them, I
guess. But as much as baseball can be boring sometimes, cricket's really... Half the guys are like sitting up there with like a hat on.
I have no idea the rules of cricket. It's like my dad was trying to explain it to me this summer. It's like 3-day matches.
Well, they have 8-day matches, 10-day. They call them a test. It's like a 10-day test. And you get 10 outs per inning. Like, in baseball, you get like 3 outs. But there's like different ways you can make it out. It's like...
Oh.
It's like, it's...
I would have to read the rule book.
Yeah, I didn't know. I tried to watch it. People were into it. They were at the bars.
I watched a little bit with my dad this summer. Just because it was this past winter break. It was just on the TV.
If you think baseball's hard to watch cricket. So, now, my next question for you is... What is your favorite memory from New Zealand specifically?
I was able to actually, so I was in Dunedin, which is a Scottish settlement in New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
It's very south, it's in the South Island towards the bottom. And I was there, architecture is beautiful there. Their train station, they claimed, was one of the top 5 most photographed buildings in the world, in the southern hemisphere, I guess. Not sure how true that is because how many people are going to Dunedin, New Zealand. But it was awesome. So I was actually able to go. I think Dunedin was probably my favorite place. I was able to go to a castle. They have a castle there, so I was able to explore a castle. I got up to the roof and I took some, scenery shots up there at the roof on the roof.
You don't think of
castle.
castles in New Zealand? That's really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's the only one.
Okay, wow.
But I just wanted to go and look. It was built later, like the 1900s, but I just wanted to go see what it was about. I ended up actually getting stuck out there because they had no cell service. So I needed my mom. My mom called me a taxi because
from the States.
Yeah.
No way.
Uber wouldn't pick me up. So I finally went back, and all I wanted to do was see like penguins because there's penguins that live in New Zealand. Yes, I did.
Yes.
So these tiny, they're called like little blue penguins, like blue penguins. They're so small, and sometimes a lot of them come to the beach. Sometimes only a few of them, but it was so awesome seeing these little penguins hop on the rocks, coming back up to their little nests, and I was actually able to see an albatross, which those birds are crazy.
That is crazy.
That was all at the same place. It was the Royal Albatross Center in Dunedin, New Zealand.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Fun fact about it: it's originally was New Zealand government land until they gave the majority of the land they took away from the Maori people back to the people that they took it from.
Mm-hmm.
So the Maori people allowed them to continue to use the land in order to have a sanctuary for penguins and albatross, as long as they continued to do that.
Wow.
So that was really cool, hearing about how New Zealand started making reparations for the things that they took away from the Maori people. I mean, obviously it's not perfect over there, but I felt like the people saw the job the government was doing and kind of like rationalized that, and they were like, okay, they're trying. Like in Hawaii it was different. Like they were very upset at the government all the time because of the things that they took away from them, understandably, but the government hadn't done anything to try to fix that.
Interesting.
But in New Zealand they're making a concerted effort. So that was really cool, seeing the penguins, the albatross. That was awesome. They don't have any like predators on that peninsula of the island either, because they had to get rid of them all. People are not allowed to have like house cats or anything. Because if they get out, they can kill the penguins. So
was it nesting season while you were there?
Yes.
Because I saw that on Australia. Like, so my home, North Carolina, like they have the turtle nesting areas. It was like the same thing with penguins. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah. So they had the penguins. I was hoping to see more. We saw like 20, but some nights they're like hundreds of them come in. But they're so cute. You can hear the little squeaks when they walk on the. They're like this big.
What a cool experience.
Yeah. So that was in the middle of the night, because they only come in at night. So I did like a little trip out there in like a bus, and they dropped me off at my hostel and picked me up from my hostel and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
But that was awesome.
I'm telling you, hey, maybe I'll help co-write it with you. If you want to tell me the ideas, I'll help you write it. This would be a really cool book, like all the different kinds of colonization, all the different cultures, like. Super cool.
It's actually been really cool seeing not just the differences in how colonialism had affected people in each country, on how the government was reacting to that. Because in Hawaii, you don't hear a lot about government doing anything for the Hawaiian people. It's hard for them to get jobs. It's hard for them to get housing. It's too expensive down there now because of tourism. So the Hawaiian people are kind of stuck. Do we leave Hawaii, leave the motherland, whatever? Or do we, like, basically a lot of them, like Hawaii has one of the biggest homeless populations in the United States.
I did not know that.
When you think of Hawaii, you don't think of homeless people.
Right.
But there was so many homeless people because it's so expensive to live there. And then a lot of the times also people in the United States just send their family members there that they don't want to deal with. And
really?
Like, yeah,
wow,
like leave
really
them. They think that like the temperature's better there, they're not gonna get cold. And so they just send them to Hawaii. So Hawaii has one of the biggest homeless populations in the United States, and it's hard to already get homes there for even the native people. You know, cost of living is going way up, so it's just very hard for the Hawaiians to live, and the government's not doing anything about it. Now in New Zealand, there are similar problems, but the government has recently made what's it? A national holiday for their New Year, Matariki. That's the newest. That's one of the newest things they've done. Everything is in Maori and English. Kids learn Maori up until the 10th grade.
Oh wow.
In school.
Super. It's just we don't think about these things.
Yeah, and obviously the United States is a bigger country, so the federal government is worried about 50 states instead of just one.
Right.
But it was crazy talking to even the young people in New Zealand, and they were like, we feel like we don't do enough for the Maori. We feel like we're not like providing enough. We feel like we're not doing enough for them. We can do more. And then in contrast, being in the United States where nothing has been done and no one cares, no one talks about it. When like kids my age, I guess not kids, but adults my age, saying like we're not doing enough. We could do more. Like we should learn Maori, the language, until we graduate. Like.
Well, I think what's interesting too is people are like the government should do something about it instead of like taking responsibility in their own hands. Like trying to learn those languages. Like cause obviously, like you said, like the federal government, United States is huge, and like just like knowing what I know about it, there's so many different native populations in America. There's they're constantly attacking each other, and then switching land. Like it's tough to say which tribe has which area or anything like that. But I think as individuals we can work to understand, document stories. Like I just one of my writers that I've been studying right now in the television area is Taylor Sheridan. He wrote Yellowstone. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't seen it, but he wrote 1883 and 1923 as well. And like he really gives a good perspective of the Native Americans. I think just thinking about my own personal life, I can give a perspective of what these different tribes have researched. If I'm running them a book, not just making them like a stereotype. Like in this series 1883, it's about the Oregon Trail, and like is about the struggles of these people trying to maintain their land at the end of the closing of the West. You know what I mean? And it's like I think that's from my perspective. Someone else is like if you're a lawyer, taking cases or really documenting what's happening. Like I think it's all on us individually, because I think the thing is in America we are a big country. There are a lot of different people here.
Yeah.
So no, I think that's really interesting. And it's interesting. I think that like what you said that really sticks out to me is the individual people like, oh, we should learn this. We should do this. Like that's really cool.
And those weren't necessarily Maori people I was talking to. It was
that's what I'm saying. It was just
it was just
people with British heritage.
Show. I'm not sure, but I met her I was walking up the steepest street in the world, and it's in Dunedin too. So I was just walking up it, and she stopped me, and she's like, "Do you live up here?" And I was like, "Oh no." And she's like, "Oh, you look like you do this every day," which compliment. Because it was really steep and it was a long street. She was like canvassing houses, and she was like, I was like, "No, I'm from the United States." She was asking me questions. She was like, "Oh, why are you here?" Whatever. And
did your accent give it away?
No, she was just like,
really?
"Do you live up there?" I was like, No, I don't." She's like, "Oh, like," I was like, "I'm just walking up the street." Because I wasn't with anybody, so it's just me just walking up. The street was so steep, it had steps on the side of the sidewalk. So I was like, "No, just walking up there just to see the top," and then walking back down. She's like, "Oh," she's like, "Oh, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing here?" And I told her, and she's like, "That is so awesome. I'm so glad that people are doing that for the people in our country." And in New Zealand, when I would tell people like what I was doing there, a lot of the times it was, "That's so awesome you're learning about the Maori. That's so that's so awesome." When I did that in Hawaii, it was more, "Oh, you're learning about colonialism. Let me tell you. Let me tell you what happened." And not that that's a bad thing. It was just a very different attitude. And a lot of the times it was not Maori people who were saying, "Let me tell you about colonialism in New Zealand." It was the people who weren't Maori, who just lived in New Zealand, who were just Kiwis. So they were the ones like offering up what the horrible things colonialism did, and the Maori people were like, "That's so awesome that you're here to learn about us. Let me tell you about the Maori. Let me tell you more about Maori."
Well, I think is like taking it from the storytelling perspective again. I think it's like easy to reduce people to like victims. You know what I mean? Or like their immigration or their ethnicity is what makes them. Like these are people with a culture. These are people with lives. It's like. The colonialism doesn't define them. Like that's not the only issue that define. Like learning about them, learning about their culture. Like that's super awesome. You know what I mean?
And it was really awesome to learn about that. And there was a lot of similarities in their language to Hawaiian and a lot of the things they did because they all like a lot of the Polynesian cultures all came from the same place, and then they spread out throughout Polynesia. I think they came from Hawaii, I think, if I'm not mistaken. The New Zealand was one of the last large land masses in the in the world to be found.
Interesting.
So they are one of the youngest native peoples in the world.
Okay.
And so a lot of their culture isn't necessarily borrowed, but it's very similar to other Polynesian cultures, which was really cool to see. Matariki was awesome. I was in Wellington for that. It's their capital city. They had the day off. Schools were closed. Everything was closed. And they had a huge celebration at the waterfront in Wellington, which was really awesome. And they had kids up there like doing traditional dances and songs.
Wow.
And it was really cool. So they also had a lot of stargazing stuff there around Matariki because it's a star rising above the horizon. That's how they find their new year. And now it's kind of hard to see Matariki, but it's like 7 or 8 stars, like a group cluster. And some cultures have different amount of stars, but I think it's 7 in New Zealand.
That's really cool.
But it was really awesome. And then I learned how to find the South Pole. So like the North Pole, you just have to look at the North Star. But in the South Pole, you have to like do some little mental star math, and you find like a place with your hands in the sky.
Wow.
So
how cool is that?
It was really awesome. I've never seen stars like that except when I was in Africa.
Wow.
It was really awesome.
Wow, that is really cool. Wow, what an interesting time you've had here at WJ.
It was very cool. New Zealand was awesome. I'd love to go back. Only downside was that it was winter, so it was freezing, and I did not pack warm enough, so I had to buy a jacket there. And then also the freaking 26-hour plane flight.
Yeah, so
there.
that's what I was gonna ask you. So I experienced my first plane. You've rode the plane a lot, so I want to ask you, what's your go-to entertainment for the plane? Like, what's your strategy going in? Because I had the 5-hour flight to LA, and then LA to Australia was about 15 hours. So very similar. New Zealand, obviously been to Hawaii, Africa. Like it's been a lot of different places. So what's your go-to strategy? Are you a reading person? Obviously you gotta try and sleep.
Yeah. So my strategy is mainly sleep as much as I can on the plane because even
you can like curl up. I feel like we had this girl besides. Yeah. See, I'm like behind the people like.
Yeah. So my flight to New Zealand, I was stuck in the middle row, and for some reason this family put a very small child next to me. They were sitting all together except for this small child. None of them thought like maybe have him sit with his mom or his dad or something. No, like the family sat together except for this little kid. So he was next to me on this side. Then I had a really, really nice Samoan man next to me on the other side. And he was like, Samoan people are huge, like muscular, like I was like, I felt so bad because the person in front of him kept putting their seat all the way back. So he was like basically touching the seat with his face, and then this little kid, he was little, so I didn't really care, but he was asleep on me the whole way to New Zealand. And actually I had 5-hour flight to LA, that was fine. And then I had, or 5 or 6, whatever. And then I had a 13-hour flight to Fiji, and then a 3-hour flight to New Zealand.
Ooh.
So, and the Fiji airport has 7 gates, and it's all in one room, and they have one place to buy food. And so I'd been on the plane for 15 hours. He was really nice. Like, he would wake me up when food would come. Like, he was awesome. I felt so bad, though. The lady in front of me kept putting her seat all the way back and wouldn't move it up for when food would come, so I couldn't even put my food on it. It was horrible. And then this little kid, no offense to him, like, he was very quiet, very nice. He just was asleep on me the whole time, which whatever, I guess. That was the worst flight I've ever had, and I was just dreading going back home because I knew I was going to have to do that all over again. And I was just like, I can't do it again. So I think if you go out over there, either go the other way around and stop in multiple places, or I don't even know. You have to be there for like a month. Worth it.
No, you have. You can't go for a weekend
No.
Because we got there and obviously the 12-hour time difference. I know Eastern Australian is like exactly 12 hours, so it's like
I was 16 hours ahead or something.
I'm sorry, 24. I meant. It always confuses me, but it's like when we flew back, we landed before we took off.
Yeah,
which is strange to think
that was
about.
Awesome, though.
Yeah, it is crazy to think about. But yeah, I try to read, try to sleep a little bit. I try to do different things. Some movies,
definitely read.
movies.
On those longer trips, they'll have the TV and the if I'm taking Southwest, I'll try to sleep the whole time. But when you take those long, I'll try to use the thing. Sometimes I'll.
Did you watch any good movies? I know obviously that's a lot of traveling.
Watch Lord of the Rings.
Okay, the whole series.
No, they didn't have the whole series.
Okay.
But to hype myself up for seeing the Hobbit stuff, I wanted to watch the movies, so I watched those. That was good. I only watched one or two things. I watched another movie. I'm forgetting now, but they have 27 dresses and all those things. So I just picked one, probably Tangled or something.
No, it's good when they have the entertainment. I usually it's tough. They have so many streaming platforms, and I try
sometimes they have those games up there too.
Yeah, that's
sometimes.
good. I like to get into a good book on the plane, but I feel like it's sometimes no matter what you do, you kind of just gotta go numb a little bit.
Yeah.
When you get there, it's the worst.
I don't think I stood up the entire time.
See, I have to. We stood up and walked around.
My mom was like, "You need to stand up. Or you're gonna give yourself a blood clot." I was like, "I know, but I just can't get out."
Well, you have to. Well, we wore special socks. Did you wear your special socks?
I don't have special socks.
You gotta get the special socks. They're compression socks.
I don't even have a thing you put on your neck for the plane.
Really, I couldn't find a comfortable one. I don't. Well, I lost my one that was kind of comfortable. It was it was this thing. I don't know. None of them were really comfortable.
Yeah, none of them are.
But yeah, you gotta wear your compression socks. You get a blood clot in your foot. You didn't stand up at all. That's crazy.
No. I just
well, also, I mean, I'm 6'2". My legs are really.
The kid was asleep on me. I didn't want to wake him up and get out that way, and then I couldn't get out the other way. And
you're nicer than me. You're nicer than me.
So I was just this is my life now.
We're told to stood up there and be these Americans so rude.
I talked to the guy next to me. He was nice.
That's good. That's good. Did you read anything good recently? We've talked about books a lot on this.
So I've been on a little bit of
You're a big fiction girl.
Yeah, a little bit of a trashy romance kick recently. I've read 6 books this year already.
Nice.
So those are not even noteworthy. It's the hockey romances that I find on Kindle Unlimited right now.
So you're reading on Kindle now?
On my phone, just
Okay. See, I never could get into that.
I don't love it. I'd rather read
physical book.
Yeah,
Did you ever go to Second Story after we talked about it in DC?
No, I didn't.
It's good. Another one called Politics and Prose in DC. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
I'm going back down there this weekend, but yeah, the used bookstores are really cool. Barnes and Noble's cool every once in a while.
I like a good Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, it's nice. They do a nice job in there. Yeah. I recently got some books from there. I got into some classics over winter break. So yes, I did. I decided it was time to read some classics. So I read The Jungle by Upton Sinclair.
Okay.
You ever heard that? Have you heard of it?
Yes.
It's a really intense book.
Yeah.
Have you read it before?
I have not read it, but we talked about it in my 9th grade history class.
It's hard to believe. Someone
my mom told me not to read it.
It's hard to believe someone really lived through that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It was it's a very socialist message in the book, and he said. Upton Sinclair said, I aimed for America's head, but I hit his stomach. Because people were apparently when Teddy Roosevelt wrote it, he actually tossed the chicken he was eating, into the wall, because he thought it was so disgusting.
Yeah, that's
some of the things, it did a lot of reforms.
We learned about, all the reforms and stuff.
Yeah, it's great. But, I remember, I was I wonder what, it seems like a probably interesting thing, the reform stuff, but I was I'm ready. And I was let me get this book. And it's, the most, harrowing scenes in modern literature.
I, read some,
yeah, it's really well written though. It's really good.
I've heard it's a good book, but my mom was
and some of the meat companies tried to cover it up. Yeah, it's crazy. I read Of Mice and Men.
Okay,
short novella.
I've read that one.
I want to read Grapes of Wrath. I think they probably have it in the library here. Have you read that? Have you read
Grapes of Wrath.
Is it good? I thought Of Mice and Men was really good.
I liked Of Mice and Men, but it was a high school English book I had to read.
So that's why I never got into classics, because people were oh, you should, the teachers were
I thought
these
it was
are really
fine.
good books.
It wasn't my favorite classic that I've read.
Yeah, see, I feel I had this question written down too. It's people lose their love for reading because I feel people they get forced to it, and I feel
that's what makes me. I love reading. If I'm someone's forcing me to read a book, I'm really.
And maybe it's not just because I realize that we do have to read. Maybe they have that thing where like you read your own book for 30 minutes. I don't really like that either. But I think it's like the way that teachers teach it. It's like, oh, this is the interpretation.
Yeah.
And
like I read Things Fall Apart.
Yeah, I think Fall Apart's a great book.
That was good.
Yeah.
I remember talking to my brother after he read that one.
Yeah, if you like that, you should read. Have you heard of King Leopold's Ghost by Adam Hochschild? It's about the genocide that Belgium did in the Congo.
Oh, okay.
It was like the first united effort, multicultural effort, like from different
Okay.
nations to
Yeah.
stop a genocide. It was very interesting. Another one, kind of about immigration, New World versus kind of Old World, like someone moving to a new country. It's called All the Things Heaven Bears. It's about DC actually. The guy
Okay.
lives in Logan Circle in DC. He moves from Africa, but yeah, I thought Mice and Men was pretty good. But the second favorite one, I'll review my first after this one, was Catcher in the Rye.
I love Catcher in the Rye. I'll say.
It's
People
not-
hate it, but I love it. They hate Holden. They hate Holden Caulfield. They can't. My friends in high school were like, he's so whiny. He's like, I can't.
I think they perfectly capture what it's like to be a teenager,
I
especially from the
agree.
male perspective.
I agree.
I mean, I think from
I'm
both, but I think from the male perspective, like how he feels like he can't date anyone, and he feels like I feel like a lot of young men feel like that, and I feel like he felt lonely in that.
I liked it. I thought he was whiny, but in a good way. Like
I think he felt lonely,
like in a teenage
He
like
didn't
angst.
and I feel like he
situation.
captured it perfectly.
Yeah, I liked.
It's a really well written
Yeah.
book. And then for number one, the classics I've read so far, I'm definitely going to read some more. This winter was A Clockwork Orange.
I haven't read that one.
It's dark.
I haven't.
It's very dark.
I just read Fahrenheit
451 for the great Ray Bradbury.
Yeah.
My uncle was
I like
reading
that.
The Martian Tales by Ray Bradbury. So Ray Bradbury wrote it, but Fahrenheit 451 was really good.
I liked the audiobook a lot.
Have you ever read Brave New World?
No.
1984.
I've read 1984.
So I think you should read Brave New World. If you like 1984, you'd like Brave New World.
Okay.
And then George Orwell's got a lot of great books, like obviously Animal Farm, and then Burmese Days is really good. Also, all these books have to deal with colonialism, but it's about this guy who gets stationed because George Orwell got stationed in Burma.
Oh, okay.
For a while. So it's about this guy, he has to take over this post in Burma. It's all the crazy stuff that happens. So
Interesting.
yeah, some recommendations for you.
Yeah. Have you
So
read A Scarlet Letter?
by
Can't remember who it's by. Scarlet Letter.
it's by Nathaniel Hawthorne, right?
Maybe.
I'm
Yeah,
blank.
that sounds right.
I was thinking about putting my laptop out here. I think it might be Nathaniel Hawthorne. Or is it Edgar Allan Poe?
No, it's definitely
No,
not
not Edgar Allan Poe. Okay. I think it's Nathaniel. I think we read it. Yeah, we read it in
As somebody
class.
who lives near Baltimore.
Okay.
Edgar Allan
I'm not a huge mystery fan though. Is the
It's
Scarlet
not
Letter?
re-
It is a
I
mystery.
would say it's
I-
more of like I couldn't get into
Would
it.
you
at first.
classify-
It was so hard to read for me.
It is
'cause
hard to
it's like-
read, and I finished it and I was like, I'm just not a huge fan of like that kind of.
I read the No Fear translation because I had to read it for high school, and I wanted to actually be able to answer the questions
Yeah.
in the quizzes they were
Yeah.
giving me. And if I didn't understand the book because it was written in old like colonial English,
Yeah,
I would like.
it's
So I
tough.
read it, the No Fear translation, and at first I was like, ugh, this book sucks. And then I got to the part where it got a little like dramatic, like there was a little bit of drama and
Yeah.
stuff going on. I was like, oh,
See, I think they
okay.
just lost me by
It's
that
like-
point. I can barely remember anything.
It was like a
about
reality TV show for me. I was like, oh, she's pregnant? He's the dad? What? And then I was like, I gotta read the rest.
So if you read A Clockwork Orange, you got because A Clockwork Orange is actually a old British term, but this is an American book. And I think what's really interesting. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if it's American or British. It was based in a town like America. I think you could imagine it being set in Britain too, but. I think what I'm trying to say is that it's very philosophical for an English written book originally. Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of like French novels and like Greek novels, obviously like ancient philosophy, like you can kind of tell like obviously like something like Candide or any of Descartes' writings, like a lot of philosophy comes from other countries, but like this is really good. But the language, he invents like his own language in the future. And it's about gangs basically take over the streets, and like it's like supposed to be like 100, 200 years in the future. And this one guy, the main character, he gets taken to the police, and it's basically they try to like force him. They force him to watch these really violent scenes. It's like idea of free will and determinism. Can you make someone good by making them like so basically a science experiment?
Okay.
It's really good.
I think my friend read that on the beach.
Yeah, it's
Not
really
really
good.
a beach read, but
No, not at all. It's
I think
more.
she read it on the beach.
Yeah, that's okay. Your pet peeve. I don't understand reading on the beach.
I love reading on the beach.
See, I want to be in the water. I want to be splashing around. I get it though. So like, why? Like, I genuinely, like, no one's ever been explaining it to me, like, why the beach, though?
You know,
Is it just because there's, like, no distraction? It's
the
like,
water's nice sound. Just like the sun hitting you. I like reading outside, like a good book reading outside.
Yeah, see, I feel like I want
the
to
beach
be
is like
inside
a perfect place. Like
Yeah.
you read outside, the sun's hitting you. If you get to a chapter, you're kind of slowing down. You can go run into the water, come back, maybe take a little nap, pick your book back up again.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's
No.
the best. I like when I'm on vacation to like a beach. Like I read like 6 books.
I can feel, I feel like you're definitely a big reader.
Yeah.
That's
when I was in
awesome.
Hawaii, I read like 1 billion books.
Wow.
Because I was there. Like I brought one book. It was like huge. It was like an 800-page book. I read that whole thing, and then like I had my Kindle and I downloaded a bunch of books on there.
That's really cool. My grandfather read War and Peace by Tolstoy. That'll be my project for this summer.
Yeah.
I want to try it.
Tolstoy.
Really? I heard it's really good.
Yeah. Well, so I'm a Russian.
Right.
minor,
I've
so
read
I
some
had to
Dostoevsky too.
Yeah, I had to do a Russian literature class, so I had to read some
That's thick stuff.
short stories.
I mean, that's some of the most well-known, most philosophical, most breakthrough, like
Yeah.
Dostoevsky, Tolstoy. Man, that's a thick milkshake.
Yeah. It takes people a long time. I didn't finish the whole book, but I had to write a paper on it.
Did you ever read Moby Dick?
No, I haven't read Moby Dick.
All you need to read is the first chapter and the last chapter. Everything else is about the shipping industry in the 1700s, and it could not be more boring.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Our teacher was like, you gotta read it 3 or 4 times to really understand it, and I was like,
I did not.
I don't know, I think I'm
supposed to be.
good. So, also, a couple books are out right now, like at the time Barnes & Noble. So I talked about Killers of the Flower Moon, American Demon. Have you seen that book in Barnes & Noble?
No.
It's about the Cleveland Torso murders. It was a serial killer.
Yeah. Okay. I read some.
Yeah.
Some mystery
some true crime. If you like that one, also Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. Have you heard of that?
Yes,
So,
I have heard
so
of
Devil
that.
in the White City is actually the Jigsaw movies. Like, is actually based off this guy.
Okay.
He basically tricked his way, like, without paying, into building this like medical complex where he killed people, and then it was about the investigator.
Isn't that like
It's
the
in
hotel?
Chicago.
And the hotel.
Yeah, it was a hotel
Yeah,
and a hospital.
I
Yeah,
think I've read that.
yeah,
Maybe.
it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But American Demon, it talks about forensics and stuff, which is really because around
That's
that time in Cleveland, I mean not just in Cleveland, in America in general, is like the birth of forensics. Kind of the same reason that Killers of the Flower Moon is interesting. Like these people were basically like getting away with killing the Osage because like they were in this county and the sheriff was like in on it, like within the federal agents. But the best book I've read recently, and it's not a new book, came out in 2009, was Where Men Win Glory. It's written by John Krakauer, who wrote Into the Wild,
Okay.
Into Thin Air. Have you heard of Into the Wild?
I think I've heard it.
About the guy who lives off on his own in Alaska and ends up dying.
Yeah.
They made a movie about it. So this is about Pat Tillman. Do you know Pat Tillman? So he was an Arizona Cardinals safety, and he actually volunteered to go to go serve in the military as a ranger. Like he was an all-pro safety. He just quit football after 9/11. So he's a like super patriotic figure, but it also gives a great history of like Afghanistan, Iraq, and like the way that propaganda was used to further push that war. And Pat actually died from friendly fire, but the military tried to cover it up. Like they burned all his gear and stuff because they could tell the bullets were American. And then they figured that if it was like, they tried to turn it story like they were ambushed and this terrible like, tragedy happened and he'd sacrifice himself, but it was just like literally an accident. But they covered it up, and it was about like, propaganda used in the war. And Pat didn't even support the war, but he felt it was a patriotic duty. And it was just really, really interesting. It's like, for me, like I remember like some of those events. Like I remember hearing about Pat Tillman. Like I remember hearing about Afghanistan and Iraq. Like I was born and stuff. But just like looking back on it now, especially with like recent events, it was a really good historical kind of narrative nonfiction book. And I'm really into those kind of. Have you ever got any narrative nonfiction books? Like nonfiction in general. I know you're a big fiction person.
I love fiction books
and fantasy. I know you love fantasy.
Yes, I do love fantasy.
Did you read Dune?
I tried to watch the movie, could not get into it.
Well, I know that George Lucas based like
Star Wars
Tatooine off.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
That's what someone told me. I don't know if it's true. I tried to look at a couple pages of the book.
Zendaya and Timothy Chalamet were in it. But like 15 minutes in, I was like, I don't understand what's going on. This is kind of boring, and I turned it off.
Are you a big Timothy Chalamet fan? The King is really good on Netflix.
I've heard that's good.
It's about
I like
him.
him. Whatever I saw him in first.
Well, he's in Wonka now, isn't he?
Yeah,
I didn't
came
see
out with
that,
that.
yeah.
I love Zendaya though.
You saw that Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
It's good.
I love Spider-Man. I love Zendaya. I love
So,
Tom Holland.
not to jump around too much, but did you see like the Miles Morales Spider-Verse?
I've
the
seen
Spider-Verse?
the first one, but I haven't seen the
Ooh,
second
you gotta
one.
watch the second
I
one.
know, and I was
The
gonna
album's
watch,
fire too.
I do like the music off
The
of
music,
it. It has
yeah.
good music. I was gonna start the second season of Loki
Oh, I haven't seen
because
that.
I've had basically I've read like 6 books in the last 2 weeks. So
Nice, good for you. J-Term's a great time.
yeah,
for that.
so I was like, maybe I'll start like a show, and I was like looking at Disney today
Yeah.
because I watched Brave last night. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, like the second season came out and I never watched it.
If you're in for something with a little bit of drama, a little bit dark as well, The White Lotus.
I've heard that's good.
It's good. It's very
Yeah,
dark.
I've been
Having
trying
that
to
juicy.
find stuff to watch.
Yeah.
I just like not like in the sitting down watching TV mood. Recently.
Yeah, no, I get that. Sometimes I definitely want to like read. I started the book I'm reading right now is called Devotion. It came out with he's kind of canceled now. Jonathan Majors. I don't really know what his situation is, but it's about the Korean War. The 2 pilots. One was black, one was white. They made a movie about it. The book's really good so far. Sometimes, all right. Are you a movie like if the movie and the book, or you go see the movie type person? Or you? I feel like the book is 99% of the time better.
I just saw Songbirds and Snakes.
Oh, so good!
I like.
Did you see? I never read any of the books for this.
Okay,
The movies
I
were done really well. Though,
read the book.
for the Songbird and Snakes.
Yes.
The prequel. Okay.
And I finished it like 20 minutes before we were leaving for the movie theater. Like, my friend was like, "Do you want to go see it tomorrow?" And I was like, "Sure." I think I'm almost done with the book. I was not almost done with the book. I was like, I think I only have 100 pages left. I had 100 pages into the book actually, so I had like just started speed reading that book. So hard for me to read because since it's based from Snow's perspective, I just could not root for him. It made it so hard for me to connect with him or root for him at all.
So what did you think when you saw the movie?
So when I saw the movie, obviously it's different. You don't hear the thoughts in his head.
See, I would like to read the book now.
Yeah. You don't hear the thoughts in his head, so it's easier for you to be like, okay, it's not too bad, whatever. But in the book, you see how calculated all of his movements are.
Yeah. You kind of get that from the movie a little bit.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So when the stuff with Sejanus happens,
Mhm.
that was before Sejanus and him went on this "you're my best friend" type brotherly thing. In the book, their relationship was built up so much more, like tenfold than the movie.
Right, you don't really get it. You just kind of see it falling apart.
Yeah. So,
But
in
the movie of the time
you're like,
restraints.
Sejanus just shows up with him at the same time. Like, no, like, Snow was literally like about to kill himself because he had been there for a few weeks before Sejanus showed up, and then he shows up and he's like, "Oh my God, my best friend's here! I'm so happy!" And then
that
he
ends up being
killing
crucial for this.
Sejanus.
Being crucial for the series.
Yeah, he ends up killing Sejanus.
And then his dad sponsors.
And
Sorry,
the-
spoilers, but
Yeah, spoiler alert. Sorry, but the way that he ended up even like backstabbing Sejanus was so calculated. The way he did it, it wasn't like so flippant as the movie showed it that he did it.
Yeah.
So like that kind of bothered me. Him and Lucy Gray's relationship was a little different, especially at the end when he goes to like search for her.
Yeah.
The whole reason he left the cabin in the first place was to kill her in the book.
But I thought that was implied in the movie too.
I felt like it was.
Because he tried to shoot her. He shot her in the ankle or something. You could kind of tell
but that
she
was
trying-
after the snake. I feel like it was the snake.
See,
bit him.
okay.
The snake bit him, and then he was like, "Oh, now I'm mad at her."
Yeah.
And when in the book, like she said, "Well, I'm the only like missing piece that knows what you did or whatever,"
Yeah.
and like left, and then he sits there thinking for a few minutes, and then he walks out of the cabin with the gun. And it's like, "I'm gonna go find and kill Lucy."
Yeah, I don't think it was made as explicit.
Yeah, like, and then when he doesn't see that she's like picking the berries or whatever she's supposed to do, he was like, "Oh, I'm really gonna kill her now." But before in the book, he's like, "Did she just run away from me?" Or in the movie, he's like, "Did she just leave me here?
Yeah.
Did she just leave?" And then the snake bites him, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill her now."
Yeah, he did mess up. He was like, "I've killed 3 people." The one.
Yeah,
he was like the one.
He's like myself,
I was
and
like,
she was
come
like,
on. Yeah.
and
We
I
thought-
guess I saw something with who played Lucy Gray? What's her name?
Rachel Ziegler.
Yeah. So I saw an interview with her, and she was saying that whole scene where she like flinches or whatever when he touches her.
Uh huh.
That was all like improvised. She didn't mean to flinch when he touched her,
Oh.
but they kept that like in the movie because that was such like.
You could tell she was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
With him. Yeah.
But that was not supposed to happen originally. That was just
Yeah.
her like accidentally flinching when
yeah.
he
Well,
touched her.
I saw it got a lot of negative reviews because obviously, you know, Katniss, the character, the acting, all of it is so great. But I think this story, like the heroes, like you even have the heroes who die in the arena. Like you kind of see like, and I think me and Abby talked about this is very dark. The prequel is very dark because there's no hope.
Yeah.
And like after the first game, because he turns it into a spectacle, it's like a thing you want to win now.
Yeah.
And he like you can tell that like it's gonna be dark.
He had so much. Like, the book shows how much influence he had on the later games when he was so young.
Yeah.
Like, even at the end, it says, I did all these things to the games after, like, and he went to university to be a game maker. Like, so he had so much, like, ploy, like, just, like, the way the games turned out was just so much of him that it's crazy. And in the movie, they didn't really show that.
They showed did they say anything about, like, his dad was, like, the one who... Because his dad, like, he was like, he was joking. The other guy was joking. He was like, "What if we made them fight each other?" And he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then he didn't want to do it. And then it's like, it's a very. I think it's very. I thought it was really well done. Though.
I liked how it was set up, and I think it was really interesting to show why Snow is so uncomfortable with Katniss, not just because of Lucy Gray, but because I feel like
and she sings the song that.
I feel like he also sees a lot of the way Sejanus was in her. And, like, everybody always says, well, Katniss was always going to be, like, raped, like, whatever. Prim was always going to, like, it was, like, set up by... No, like, he didn't know that this was going to happen.
He didn't know that,
He's smart enough that he wouldn't have done that in the first place. So I feel like, just, like, he saw Lucy Gray and Sejanus in the way that Katniss was, and that just pissed him off so bad. Like, I just feel like you could just see, like,
it was
how
really good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I did too.
I think too. Like
I liked the movie. No, I won't say I liked the movie better than the book.
Yeah.
Because I would say the book was. It's hard because I would never read the book again because it was just so hard for me to like just connect with him. Like, and that's something I like to do with main characters in books.
But I felt bad for. I think I felt bad for him in the movie though.
Yes, they made you feel bad for him in the movie, which is something I did not.
But I think the filmmaking techniques is like everyone's wearing these red suits, which is associated with dystopias. Like, and you see like what happens to him as a child. I don't know.
Well,
it's a great series, and then like even you think about what happens. What happens at the end of the Hunger Games is President Coin, two sides of the same coin. He knows that she'll take power, just like he did.
Yeah, and I think it's just like the whole Hunger Games series is awesome, and I'd love to like see more of like how they like maybe even before the 10th Hunger Games, just see like how they devolved into
it's 10th, not 1.
Yeah, so how they devolved into like how they came to a place.
Well, they never talk about
did the Hunger Games,
but I think it's intentionally left sort of ambiguous. It's like you kind of know it Pan Am, like you see them as kind of in America.
Yeah,
it's kind of in our modern time. Their technology advances faster, but you don't hear anything about the war. You hear there was like jabberjays before times, or like who settled the land, or what you know. It's very ambiguous, but I think that's intentional, because I loved Suzanne Collins. She was flipping back and forth between the Iraq War, which was one of the first wars that was really televised, Gulf Storm, Desert Storm, Afghanistan, Iraq, super televised, and she flipped back and forth to reality TV, and she's like, this is crazy, like. And then you see it's like, what's the guy, Lucky Flickerman, and he's like, this guy, he's like making it like a part, like in a way, like our war coverage is kind of like that today. It's like it's like for, and then like you'd be watching coverage of a war or some tragedy, and it's like an ad.
Yeah.
And even like you see the gambling too.
Mm-hmm. Like that's true. That's a good point. That's something to think about. I love the Hunger Games. I think it's really well written. For like all the dystopias that came out are right around that time. I feel like
talk about that too. I like Maze Runner though. Maze Runner is nothing to scoff at.
Could not. I tried to read the book because my brother really wanted to read it. My parents were like, "Please read the book before him, just to make sure there's nothing bad."
Well, I think Maze Runner is more dark than.
I couldn't get into it. I was like,
Did you watch the movie ever?
No, I just like hated the book, so I couldn't even. It's one of my like not.
I've never read the book.
It was just for me like. I was reading it, I was like, this is such a good idea, like, the way that but, like, I feel like the way he went about it was horrible, and I just couldn't get into it at all. Yeah. Like, I got, like, 40% into the book, and I was like, yeah, he can read it, but I don't know why he should. It's not good. I just, like, that.
Yeah, I think you should give the movies a chance, maybe. Because the second and third, I never saw it, but I haven't done that at all.
Like, I read the Divergent. books, the movies are not as good as the books
Okay.
on Divergent. Like, I feel like Hunger Games, the movies are very on par with the books.
Yeah.
Like, obviously,
Well, the
I
acting
think the
is
books are better.
really good.
But the movies are such a good representation of what the books were that I feel like you could, like, watch the movies and still get a pretty good feel of what the books were like.
What was up with all the memes with PETA? Did you see those?
Yeah,
like
the whistling ones?
Yeah, what was up with that?
I have no idea, but
It was so funny.
I saw a video on TikTok the other day that was somebody stopped him in the street. Was like, "Can I sing for you?" And he stopped, and like he was standing so awkwardly, and they started singing the Whistle Baby song to him in the street for like the video was like 3 minutes long, and he didn't like be like, "Oh, I gotta go now." He literally stood there and listened to him the entire time, and I was just like, I couldn't even watch the whole video because I was feeling awkward. And this person was not like a good singer or anything. I think they were. Just
it was like the
random.
meme was like you'd like open a can and
and then it would be So
like
he heard about those because he was. I saw an interview with him and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. My brother showed me those because he knows I'm not like really on social media. But somebody stopped him in the street and sang the entire song for him, like in the middle of like the sidewalk, and he like stood there and was like." The whole time, didn't say anything, and then he was like, "Thank you."
Was he even been anything in anything else?
He was in that Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Did you watch that?
No,
I never saw it.
But he's in it. That's what I know because another interview, like Jennifer Lawrence said that she texted him when her movie, the No Hard Feelings, which that was cute. I watched that.
It was a rom-com, right?
Yeah, was number one on Netflix, and his movie was number one on the box office or whatever. And she texted him like, "Oh, we're both number one at the same time."
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, but I didn't watch Five Nights at Freddy's, and I watched No Hard Feelings. I thought it was cute, like just rom-com, like. But I want to see the Anyone But You or whatever. The one with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. It's in theaters right now.
Okay.
I want to watch that. That's a new rom-com that came out. There was all those cheating scandals. I'm not really into pop culture at all, but like I've just seen so much about
I saw
them
the ad
and how
for
like,
it.
Like they had like cheating scandals while they were filming.
She's in White Lotus too, Sydney Sweeney.
Okay.
The first season.
Didn't watch.
I never watched
Euphoria.
Euphoria.
So I'm not really like. Then I don't really. She has no significance to me. But she had a fiance or boyfriend or whatever, and he had a girlfriend or fiance or whatever, and there was like active like rumors that they were like cheating from this movie, and I was like now
It's
I
just
feel
a
like
ploy.
I
It's just
have
a ploy. But it's just a
I know, now I
ploy.
feel like I have to watch it because there's something about their chemistry has to be so good that there's cheating scandals about this rom-com now, and I was like,
They're
that's
just
how,
suckering you into it.
I
It
feel
might
like
not even
that's
be
how
real at all.
rom-coms should be. Like there should be some sort of like their dating rumor about it.
Have you seen Darling Don't Worry
No.
with Harry Styles?
Oh, the dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
I fell asleep for the middle of it.
It was very philosophical, so I liked that.
Yeah,
About
I
it.
liked.
But there was like
half.
cheating with like Stuart was like that movie or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I thought the concept was interesting.
Yeah,
like,
I
going to
liked the
VR.
first half, and then I fell asleep for probably 45 minutes, and then I woke up for the end, so I didn't really understand what was happening. But then the people I was watching it with like told me what was happening, so I like figured it out.
That's like my worst fear as a
a
filmmaker. Like someone fought. That's like it's like sometimes you're like, does this really? I never saw like Oppenheimer, like but like 3 hours.
I
I'm like,
didn't watch Oppenheimer.
so the thing is
I
like
did see Barbie.
it too. Like, yeah, I couldn't make it through Barbie.
What?
I couldn't make it through.
How? It was
It's
so good.
Not good. We'll have to do disagree.
It is.
Disagree. Not good. It was.
Oh my gosh.
It was not
You're
good.
not. You don't get it. If you know, you
I don't.
know.
I don't know, but I don't claim to know. But it's
I
like,
thought it was so
it's like
good.
3 hours. Like I feel like the ideal runtime for a movie. This is the last thing. Well, before I let you. Like, what's the ideal runtime? You know. Oh, what's the ideal page for a book? I'd say 225 to 300.
Yeah, I'll agree with
Like
that.
it better be good if it's above. Like those pages
Yeah.
better mean something.
I feel like once it hits above 300, if you're losing me,
above
like
400.
3/4 into the book, like,
Above
it's
400,
hard
you
for
better
me
be
to finish.
legendary.
Yeah, like I read a few 800-page books from Sarah J. Maas, who does the A Court of Thorns and Roses, which those books are really good.
I read
Those
those,
are a
yeah.
little longer, but her other series, Crescent City, those books long, like 800 pages, and they're so hard to get through the middle part of it, but then the end sucks you back in again, so you want to read this next one. Yeah, but I feel like the books I've been trying to read now, I've been like 300,
300 is a
350
soft
pages.
spot.
I feel like
I'm a big 180, 185 to 225 too. Like,
if you can't get your point across in like 350 pages, there gotta be a bigger
it better be
point
like
than,
I mean, talking about like something
there
like
better be
Leo
stuff
Tolstoy,
going on.
Dostoevsky, like Dante's Inferno, like those, like, you know what I mean? It better be like epic tale.
There better be stuff going on.
Yeah.
It can't just be like, oh, now they're together and they go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Oh, but wait, there's going to be a third quarter breakup situation that you're going to have to read 50 more pages till you get to that, and there's stuff happening again.
It's tough.
That's the book I'm kind of reading now. It's
So what about movie time? I say 2 hours right on the dot.
I feel like 2 hours.
3
Anything more than 2 hours.
Like, it better be like The Godfather. Like, it better be like really
I'm
good.
not. I will sit down and watch a movie all the way through the first time I watch it, but once it gets over 2 hours, like, I might have to go
losing
take a
focus.
break.
It better be really good.
Or I'm asleep. My mom falls asleep in every single movie she watches. Like, even in the movie theater, like, we can't take her to a movie theater.
She snore?
No, it's basically we're paying for her nap.
Yeah.
Like,
That's not a bad thing though.
No, I guess not. But like,
my dad is the same way.
Like, I love movies, but once they get over like a certain amount of time, like,
well, I think especially in our day and age today with like TikTok and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, it's like I feel like people are playing like people don't have the attention. No, they make it interesting.
Yeah,
I think it should be a challenge.
If you want to make your movie 3 hours long, make it 3 hours
It's not
long.
impossible.
But make
like
it
Avatar, I love
interesting
Avatar.
the entire time.
I love Avatar.
I couldn't really get Avatar. I don't know.
I think it's the natural scenes for me are really. I'm into nature, cinematography, nature photography,
I could see that.
And the underwater stuff. Like, it's really cool.
That's cool.
I like the narrative too.
I didn't like the fact that they were blue and all that stuff. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. I was like, why? I was like, just make them look normal.
Someone said it was Dances with Wolves with Smurfs.
Yes, that's basically what it is.
Well,
I just couldn't. I can't get into those sci-fi stuff. I just can't.
You don't like Star Wars.
Well, I do like Star Wars, and I like I guess Lord of the Rings is more fantasy.
Technically, superheroes is sci-fi, right?
Yeah, I just can't I can't read books like that.
Yeah.
Like, my favorite book is like mystery, like Silent Patient.
Oh yes! And have you read his second book, The Maidens?
No.
I'll have to give it to you.
He has another book?
Yeah, I bought it like as soon as it came out. The Silent Patient is
that book.
So good.
Alex have been waiting.
I don't know how to say his last name. He's Greek.
Yeah, I've been waiting. Soph read that book too. Like, I was like, text me as soon as you get to it.
I
wish.
wish.
Like, get to what? And I was like, you'll know.
I wish I had The Maidens here. It's not as good as Silent Patient, but it's really good. It's about
Silent. I wish I could. That's the one book I wish I could read over again.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, once you get to that,
it's dark.
Once I got to that
dark
end,
book.
I was like, what? And had to like go back through pages and like read again, and then I was like, hold on.
Well,
no,
he was
wait,
the screenwriter
what?
first.
It was
great
so
book.
good. It was so good. Like, I
didn't
still
know you
can't
read
get
the
over
book.
it.
So good. We can't spoil it.
No, we can't. Everybody
I don't
should
spoil the
read
book.
that.
Everyone should. My uncle
Everybody
wrote
should read that book.
Yes.
I got Ben's mom to read it. I got Soph to read it.
You get Ben to read it?
No, he's not really a reader. He'll read stuff about Steelers, Pitt, sharks.
Like
Sharks in the ocean. He loves
Soul Surfer.
No.
You ever heard that?
Yeah, I've heard of
it's
it.
a good. It's
I
a good
don't
movie.
think he'll read that. Jaws. He has that book sitting on his desk, along with the Steelers book. Those are the only two. He actually read one mystery this summer, because when he came and visited me at CDC for the first time and stuff. We went to Barnes and Nobles, and he was like, maybe I'll pick out a book. He picked out like a kid mystery. He was like, it was good. It was good. I was
Hey,
like,
we're not
"That's
shaming.
good."
We said we're not shaming. That's good. Good branch
No,
out.
it was good. And then if I go to the bookstore, he's like, can I go? And I'm like, sure. And then he will pick out a Steelers.
Yeah, not a great book selection store around here though. I don't want to
No,
say go to Barnes and Noble
yeah,
up in Pittsburgh,
up in
but you should check out Second
South
Story in
Bay.
DC or
Okay.
Politics and Prose.
Yeah.
Politics and
I
Prose.
need
Really
to go
good
to more bookstores. I feel like I also probably need to go to more like music, like vinyl.
Vinyls.
stores.
Yeah, if you're into that, they have a one called Edie's Entertainment in Pittsburgh, but Second Story is really good. They have like all these, but like $1, $2 books. Like, I don't mind if they're old. You know,
Yeah, I love those too, like the vinyls too. I met Noah Kahn in like a.
Oh really?
You're
into vinyls? Yeah, I would check out Edie's Entertainment.
Baltimore, that was awesome. The
Yeah,
day.
that's good. Do you have a vinyl player?
Yeah, I do. I have
that's
a
cool.
few Taylor Swift, Noah Kahn signed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
This is so cool.
Awesome.
He was awesome. His concert was great.
Wow.
Have you heard of him?
Cool. Yeah, I've heard. Like,
Yeah.
what's a
Stick
season?
Season?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah, I've heard some of his stuff before. Wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm seeing Zach Bryan and Hosier this year.
Really?
Yeah, I wish I could meet them, but I hope.
Zach Bryan. Yeah, a lot of people have been saying his name on this show recently.
He's coming to Pittsburgh.
Really, that'd be cool. I like playing his songs on guitar. They're really like kind of fun songs to play.
Yeah.
And I like his songs too.
He comes out with so many.
Everyone was talking about Morgan Wallen live. He didn't. And I saw some videos of him live. It was like I like Zach Bryan live, like the
Yeah.
YouTube videos of him. Like,
Yeah, I
Morgan
feel like
Wallen's like, eh.
I'm not the biggest Morgan Wallen fan. My aunt, so she works in the industry, the
Okay.
music industry. She's like a promoter,
Okay.
so she knows like Morgan Wallen's
Mhm.
and Zach Bryan's actually their
Right.
managers and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she like gives me all the dirt on them and stuff. Don't want to like air it out.
Don't air it out.
But
Now we get those views. That view count, clip it.
But like she talks about like she knows like who's the real deal and who's not.
We'll have to talk about it after the show.
But yeah, but it's kind of cool. Like she was Kelsey Ballerini's promoter.
Oh wow.
So she's
Oh.
good friends with Kelsey. I've met Kelsey Ballerini a few times. That's actually how I met Taylor Swift.
Wow, I did not know this. Every time I'm
fun
sure with you something.
fact,
Wow.
I am in her Fearless tour movie.
Wow.
Yep, I'm the little
Sweet.
girl in the scenes with her mom. Her mom's holding my hand, and I'm in a red jacket. If you guys watch that movie, recommend.
Wow.
I'm in
Are
it.
you pulling for the Chiefs? What's your thoughts on it? It's kind of cringy. I feel like some of the stuff's cringy.
So the Bills won, so I was like, okay, they haven't had like a Super Bowl.
Right,
Like,
and the Bills
they've
playing
been
the
good in
Chiefs,
a while,
yeah.
but they haven't had a Super Bowl. The Chiefs have had Super Bowls recently. I feel like everybody else has had Super Bowls recently except the Bills and the Lions. Now the Lions are basically the Browns of Detroit.
Yeah.
Once you think about it, it makes sense. So I think I'm pulling for the Lions.
Okay.
I'm with Eminem on this one. I'm pulling for the Lions. I hope they win.
Hey, watch out for. Hey, the Bucs are playing with house money right now. They were picked to be the second worst team in the league, and it's like last year was like Brady. Can he get another? Like, there's no pressure this year. If they lose, it's like
Yeah, that's true. My granddad lives in Tampa Bay.
All right, it's a fun city.
But yeah, no, I think I'm pulling for the Lions. You know, they sacrificed the Detroit Pistons to have a good Lions season.
Have you seen the Wingstop memes?
Yes.
Yes. Like, so if the Pistons win, they get free wing, and everyone's like, "We want our free wing." And they won like 6-7 games, and almost halfway through the season.
Yeah. So I think the city of Detroit sacrificed the Pistons so the Lions can be good. I see that sacrifice.
And the Tigers. Tigers are awful too.
Yeah. Well, I see their sacrifice, and I'm making note of it, and I'm rooting for the Lions for now. And also the blue is pretty, so that's a plus. It's a pretty blue.
Then on that note, there you
Eagles
go.
were gone,
Experts.
So
Yeah.
Browns are out.
You're calling for the Eagles?
They're like my second. Like I like Jason Kelsey.
Yeah, I do that.
And I
he's
knew
retired.
he was gonna retire this year.
Yeah, he
so
was
I was
crying.
like, I hope
He's
he
a
can.
nice guy.
maybe
Hey, the Bucks
get
stopped the tush
somewhere.
push last night.
They did. I did see that.
I was so hyped.
That was.
We were in the
crazy.
RA room and someone came to the ski legend and was like, "Can you be quiet, I'm Preston?" I was like, "Don't you tell me what to do. We just stopped the tush push."
Stopping the tush. That is crazy.
It
Yeah,
was.
no. But I was hoping the Eagles just fell off a cliff those last 5 games.
Yeah.
So sorry, Sirianni. I mean, it's true.
It's tough.
The last 6 games, they've been 5-1.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
I feel like their defense just really struggled last
Yeah.
night. Trey Palmer with that 6-yard curl route breaks a tackle and just runs up.
Yeah, what was that? They were like working with negative momentum. They had all the momentum going into those last 6 games of the season.
Yeah.
Stopped, and then they were going in with like not
Yeah.
even like you know when you're like, we have all the momentum now, team. Like we got
Yeah.
this. They didn't have that.
Well,
They
I'll
were
say
coming
like
off
the Bucks were
forward.
just coming after. Like they're blitzing
Yeah.
every play. Like I'll say the team was rallying behind Baker Mayfield. So
Did
we'll
you
see.
see who tweeted this? It was like quarterback coach for RG3. Did you see what RG3 tweeted?
Oh, Jay Gruden.
I hope no one.
And then they showed all the highlights of him, yeah. And then RG3 was like
this,
the memes. No, I'm not gonna lie. Are you on Twitter?
Yeah.
The memes are crazy.
I-
Twitter's the best, or X. X is the best.
I still have
The
Twitter. I
Jalen
didn't update
Hurts.
it yet.
Have you seen the ones where it's like the guy who's doing the Target videos? Like he's pushing his cart through Target.
No. Have you seen?
Bleacher
all
Report did a graphic of it last
Have
night.
you
It's so
seen all
funny.
the things where they're photoshopping Dak Prescott into different jobs? Like he's like working
Yeah,
at
well, it's
AutoZone.
AI. It's AI now. Like it's AI image
I don't
generator.
like AI. I'm not about it.
I like the AI.
Scares me.
I rock with the AI.
Scares me.
AI image generator. I've made some movie posters using the AI. It can be used for things.
Yeah, I think if you're using it,
Proofread things.
Yeah, I like the proofreading thing. I'll say.
Yeah.
My dad has ChatGPT and he just uses it as Google.
You should watch the South Park about Chat. I mean, it can be. It's basically Google.
Yeah, he'll be like.
It's a more in-depth
I'll ask
Google.
him a question. He'll be like, I don't know. Let's ask ChatGPT. He'll pull it out.
It's so fun.
He pays for it.
He's got the premium.
Yeah, he pulls it out. He's like asking it questions, and he's like, ChatGPT said whatever.
It's so funny.
Can't we just ask Google?
And then if you get the premium, you can pay to do the images too. But I just want another image site and had
I don't know. He doesn't do it.
the images. So I was like, my teacher was like, wait, you can do images? Type in like bears like wearing funny hats at a party. And I typed it in. It's like it's like a Picasso of like bears. Like
Oh my
he's like
God.
shirtless. He's like, that's so cool. I'm gonna play with this.
My dad pays for it. I don't know why.
Well, it gives you longer answers, but it doesn't make
Yeah,
quality.
he said you can also like use it 40 times, like ask it 40 questions an hour or something. I don't know, like.
I don't know if I need to have 40 questions.
He doesn't even have like any. He has no social media, but he'll pay for premium Duolingo and ChatGPT to ask questions and learn Spanish. Well, he's not doing that, but he's watching Bluey now in Spanish, so he can learn.
What's up with Blue? Is there dogs with what I watched?
It's Australian dogs for kids. They're one of them's blue.
Why is it so popular like adults?
I don't know. My dad's coworker said, "Oh, you're trying to learn Spanish. Why don't you try to watch Bluey in Spanish and see if that helps?" And my dad,
So
I was
Dad's
on the
just
phone with my
watching
mom,
Bluey in Spanish.
and I was like, "What is Dad watching?" She was like, "Bluey in Spanish," and he's in the back going, "This is way too fast. I don't understand what they're saying." I'm like, "Dad, it's a kid's show." Like, I was like, I even heard words that I know. I don't even know Spanish. She was like, "I only know one word, bien." And he has over a 2,000 day streak on Duolingo. Like, that was nothing. He learned Latin too, I guess.
Well, that's
Should
a
help
cool
with
guy.
Spanish. But it didn't. Now he's watching Bluey.
There you go. Well, Ella, this has been a fun conversation as always. I really appreciate all your contributions to the show. Before we say anything else, I want to turn it over to you for the quote of the day. You said you have one, so I did not bring one, so you're taking us home
I
tonight.
do.
Our last one with you on the show.
Yes, so I was trying to brainstorm things because my first quote on this show was my favorite quote, so I was trying to come up with
You've
something.
had some good ones.
Yeah, so there's a few. One I say a lot, and I'll give a second one that was given to me, or maybe I'll do a few. I have.
Go
some.
for it.
Okay, so this one I actually say a lot. I don't know who said it. Hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. I think that's a quote that we can all bring with us.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter how good you are at something, as long as you're working hard, there's always somebody who's working less hard than you. Maybe they're really good at something naturally, but if they don't work as hard, your hard work's going to beat them 10 out of 10 times. I think that's good for sports and just life. Ben suggested, "Well done is better than well said" by Benjamin Franklin. His favorite president. Had to tell him that's.
Is that because it's the same name?
I don't know. Ben Franklin wasn't a president, so. But.
It's true.
Happens.
Oh, you said favorite president. Oh, I
Yeah.
thought you said favorite, like.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
okay.
he thinks he's a president.
Oh.
But I like that one. Well done is better than well said. I think your actions show better than words.
For sure.
That happens. A lot of things can show that. And then I was just looking up other ones. Passion first, and everything else will fall into place. I think
That's how we started the show too.
Yes,
Wow, what a great way to circle it
that is
around.
what I wanted to say that one because passion. As long as you're funneling it into something that you love, it won't steer you wrong. I don't think. Everything else will fall into place as long as you lead with passion, I think.
Wow, Ella, thank you so much. Honestly, we've had so many fun conversations on here, and it's been a really great time getting to know you. And it just makes me so excited to see the future of not just you, but what our generation does as a whole. Like I know you've talked about so many of your friends and people you've met on these journeys who are our age. And honestly, I'm just super excited to see what you do. If you do write that book, I want to see more vlogs on travels or whatever you do. You do some vlogs and stuff, but whatever you do next. Good luck, and honestly, keep doing your
Thank
thing.
you. Well, if you ever want me on the show again, probably free.
All right, sounds good. All right, thanks everyone.